it up so that push it back so it goes back in and turns itself off. Okay. Give it a moment.
Good morning, and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the Spirit and to serve the community. Brock, thank you so much for a lovely, restful beginning, peaceful beginning to our service this morning. I am Reverend Lane-Mairead Campbell, and it is my privilege and my honor to be your settled minister here at First Universalist. I use they, them pronouns. Joining me this morning in leading worship is Elizabeth Osta, our fantastic worship associate, using she, her pronouns. The incredible Dr. Brock Chesvold, our fabulous music director. We have Jack here on the tech deck, back from Thanksgiving. Welcome back, Jack Cunningham, using he, him pronouns. Lisa Gwinner is also monitoring our online worship services from here in the sanctuary, which is incredible, using she, her pronouns. It is good, it is good, it is so good to be together, and so grateful to also have our ushers here helping us out this morning. It takes a lot of folks to make this worship service happen each Sunday. If you are here for the first time or even the second time, welcome. Welcome to this worshiping community. We are especially glad that you are here. Thank you so much for taking the time. We do have a welcome visitors form that you can fill out if you scan the QR code in the back of your order of service. This is a way that we can just offer you a broader welcome than what we can offer you here on a Sunday morning with us. I want to highlight for you all, if you had not heard, we are going ordaining this afternoon. So, the First Universalist is combining with First Unitarian, as well as the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, Vermont, to ordain Reverend Vertus LeVar Robinson into the Unitarian Universalist ministry this afternoon at 3 p.m. I know, yeah! This is incredible. We will be meeting over at First Unitarian at 220 South Winton Road to be able to take part in this service. The president of the denomination, Reverend Dr. Sophia Bettencourt, will be preaching. It is going to be quite the service. Please also, if you want to join us online, take a look at your weekly email. There's a link in there to be able to join us online for that service as well as in person, whatever your schedule allows for this Sunday. So, before we take a moment to turn to our neighbors here in the pews and online, I want to invite us to connect our two congregations communities this morning, both online and here in person. So if you would turn towards Hope and offer a wave, we can welcome and offer a greeting to our online worshiping folks. We're so glad you're here this morning with us. We're so grateful you're joining us from your homes, from wherever you are on your travels. Let us take a moment to turn to our neighbor and to offer a greeting this morning. Please pop into the chat if you're online and rise in body or in spirit here to offer a greeting this morning. Let's sing together. Let's join in singing hymn number 23, Bring Many Names, a classic, yet a good one. So please rise in body or in spirit. Words will be up here on the screens and also in your gray hymnals, hymn number 23. Please be seated.
The best song that was. In Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, in the chapel at Calvary Retreat Center, I sit alone silently. Tears stream down my cheeks unbidden. In these days of solitude, I struggle to discern my future. Will I stay in the convent or leave? The answer eludes me, but the time spent in pursuit remains crystal clear. If there is an answer, it is, I must wait and pray. And I did. Several years later, after more quiet moments of prayer, I left. Then I found the love beyond my wildest imaginings, right here at First Universalist Church. When big decisions loom, when overwhelm assaults me from all sides, I think back to Shrewsbury. The silence calls me to rest, knowing within are moments of truth and peace. My trip to the woods sometimes resembles these moments. Mary Oliver describes it well in her poem, How I Go to the Woods. Ordinarily, I go to the woods alone, with not a single friend, for they are all smilers and talkers, and therefore unsuitable. I don't really want to be witnessed talking to catbirds or hugging the old black oak tree. I have my way of praying, as you no doubt have yours. Besides, when I am alone, I can become invisible. I can sit on the top of a dune, as motionless as an uprise of weeds, until the foxes run by unconcerned. I can hear the almost unhearable sound of the roses singing. If you have ever gone to the woods with me, I must love you very much. Come, let us worship together. As Dave Van Arsdale lights our chalice at First Universalist Church and you light your chalice in homes, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit. And may we reach out to serve our community. Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life, through covenant with each other and with all.
Please be seated. It is no secret that the staff here at First Universalist Church have been working so hard this past year, especially as I was away on a 5-month sabbatical. Brock, Emma, Jack, Reverend Michelle, our 2 childcare providers, Coretta and Carol and Albert, have been collaborating with you all, listening, working, and helping to ensure that the ministry of this church continues. They do this work with your support. And in this holiday season, as we do each year, we want to give them some extra special support for all that they do for us throughout the year. It is an extension of gratitude to be able to say thank you for the ways you help our dreams become a reality. Our offering this morning will go to support our staff holiday bonuses. I ask you this morning to please be generous, just as they have been generous with all of us. To give, please scan the QR code on the back of your order of service. An offering basket will come around as well. For folks online, please click the link in the chat. Your generosity matters so much to this community and to our staff. Thank you. I had the privilege this past week of getting together with our worship leading staff, and we were trying to think through what were we gonna share with you all in the coming months especially. We were looking ahead towards Christmas Eve, we were looking ahead towards this Sunday, and the inspiration came. Why not share this incredible story that we had heard online, read by Samuel L. Jackson, called Go the F to Sleep. However, Reverend Michelle, in her wisdom, found another one that's a little bit more church appropriate, called Seriously, Just Go to Sleep, by Adam Mansbach, and illustrated by Ricardo Cortez. I feel like this story is made for especially new parents, but probably, all of us in some ways. I have a friend, Will, who just had a baby this past year, and he was sharing with me that as his wife was giving birth in the hospital, the midwife pulled him aside and said, you only need 2 hours of sleep to be a sane person. And you only need 1 hour of sleep in order to function. So, this morning's story, seriously, just go to sleep. The cats nestle close to their kittens. The lambs have laid down with the sheep. You're cozy and warm in your bed, my dear. Please, just once, go to sleep. The windows are dark in the town, child. The whales huddled down in the deep. I'll read you one very last book if you swear you'll close your eyes and sleep. The eagles who soar through the sky are at rest, and the creatures who crawl, run, and creep, I know you're not thirsty. You just had a drink. Stop goofing around now and sleep. The wind whisper soft through the grass, hun. The field mice, they make not a peep. It's been 38 minutes already. Remember, we made a deal. Sleep. All the kids from preschool are in dreamland. The froggy has made his last leap. No way, you can't go to the bathroom. Guess where you can go, my darling? To sleep. The owls fly forth from the treetops through the air. They soar and they sweep. A weariness pounds through my head, love. For real, no more talking. Let's sleep. The cubs and the lions are snoring. Wrapped up in a big, snuggly heap, you're incredibly cute and super duper smart. But why is it so hard to just sleep? The seeds slumber beneath the earth now, and the crops the farmers will reap. No more questions. The interview is over. I've got 3 words for you, kid. Go to sleep. The tiger reclines in the simmering jungle. The sparrow has silenced her cheep. What do you want now? Another stuffed bear? 4 is plenty. Lie back down and sleep. The flowers doze low in the meadows and high in the mountain to steep. My life is absurd. This is taking forever. Stop messing with me, please, and sleep. The giant pangolins of Madagascar are snoozing, and I lie here and try not to weep. Sure, fine, whatever. I'll bring you some milk. You're obviously not going to sleep. This room is all I can remember. The furniture is flimsy and cheap. You win, you escape, you run down the hall as my chin hits my chest, and I sleep. Blurry and dazed, I awaken and find your eyes shut, so I keep my fingers crossed tight as I tiptoe away and pray that you're really asleep. We're finally watching our movie. Popcorn in the microwave, beep. No way, don't believe it. You've got to be kidding. All right, well, let's go back to sleep. The end. Maybe a familiar story to some of you. Oh, sometimes it feels this way for us too. The end. Let us take a deep breath now and prepare ourselves as we enter into this reverent time of sharing some joys and sorrows. Let us breathe deep together, dear ones. As we listen to the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community, if you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from a heart-centered space. As Elizabeth places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. All online are also invited to share your joys and your sorrows in the chat, and we will read them aloud. We share this morning a sorrow on behalf of Glenda Brayman, whose son Terry was one of 2 pilots killed when the Air Force Osprey went down near the coast of Japan on Wednesday. It turns out that Glenda welcomes cards, but please no phone calls or emails, since she doesn't feel she can respond in this time. But we hold Glenda in our hearts, all of those of us here who sing with her, who make music with her, who have been in her life for the last many, many years. And we hold her son in our hearts. We share some of the joys out of our sanctuary. A joy from Lisa Gwinner to share that 35 years ago today, Charlie Kortzel and I were married in this sanctuary by Mark and Donna Morrison Reed. Happy 35th anniversary. A joy this morning from Kitty Forbush, who attended the recital of Brock and his dear friend Luke playing piano and trumpet, highlighting Luke's queer journey with his amazing music. What a gift to all of us. We share from Elizabeth both a mixture of joy and sorrow this morning at the passing of a Rochester great, Dorothy Dobson, who died in November. And she brought a great celebration to Rochester, a woman of color who has made a difference. And so we celebrate her life and we mourn her loss. A joy from Lois Baum that her Brooklyn sister Pam visited us in person this week. Fantastic. First time in 4 years. Thankful for Zoom in the meantime. Lifting up gratitude for all the ways that Zoom keeps us connected, or different ways that we're connected. We share a joy from MJ Curry, who is welcoming her friend Michelle in person here for the first time after joining us many times on Zoom during the pandemic. Welcome, Michelle, and welcome all who are joining us here in person and online. I will share a sorrow this morning at the loss of my grandmother, Emily Hassel. My family will be gathering for a celebration of her life this upcoming Wednesday. And so I just ask that you hold my family in your thoughts and your prayers in the days ahead, as I will be traveling out there and back to be a part of that. We know that we all come in here with many joys and sorrows in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, carried on our shoulders in our spirits. We drop one final stone to represent all of the joys and sorrows that we leave unspoken, but which are no less important. May all be held in the heart of love. As many of you know, this morning's service is about rest. So I want to actually invite us for our meditation time into a practice that might feel a little bit strange, but also, I hope, might feel restful. we are going to take some time to actually rest during our meditation. So, if you would like, I'd invite you to lie down or to rest your eyes. There are some pillows and some blankets in the pews here and there. Wishing we had them for everybody, but here we are. If you're joining us online, if you have a pillow or a blanket nearby, feel free to grab it. I know that church does not always feel like the most comfortable place to rest or to sleep, unless I am being incredibly boring up here, which is fine. Let church be a place to rest and to sleep. My father used to fall asleep while our minister was preaching when I was a child, and he snored. But I'm inviting you to give it a try this morning during our meditation. We will hold a prolonged silence after the meditation, and I will read what has been read over nap temples, spaces made for resting by the nap ministry. A ministry started by a woman named Tricia Hersey, a Black liberation theologian, and I'll be talking more about her work in today's sermon. So I'll invite you to just get comfy, prepare to have a bit of rest time as part of church this morning. Close your eyes, soften your gaze, lean over, sit up, whatever feels comfortable to you, as we engage in this meditation written by Tricia Hersey. The following invocation has been spoken over the tired bodies of thousands of people who have attended our collective napping experiences in person and virtually. This is a transmission to open the portal of rest. The doors to the nap temple are open. Won't you come? This is an invitation for weary souls to rest. This is a resistance. This is a protest. This is a counter-narrative to the lie that we all aren't doing enough. We are enough. This is a counter-narrative to the lie that our worth is tied to the grind of capitalism and the lie of white supremacy. You are enough, simply by being alive. Thank you for living. Thank you for resisting. Thank you for creating. Thank you for dreaming. Thank you for resting. We believe that our healing can visit us while we are napping, while we are resting, while we are sleeping, while we are slowing down. We believe that naps provide a dream and visioning space to invent, to create, to heal, to imagine. This is what resistance looks like. Won't you come? This is a resistance. This is a protest. Let us take a moment now to rest. as we return from our slumber, our rest. This morning we will sing a bit of a lullaby, a Universalist prayer set to music written by Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker and arranged by Elizabeth Norton. It is a piece that may be familiar to those of us who serve on our church's board or have served on our church's board of trustees in the last couple of years, as this is a prayer that the board actually prays for one another at the beginning of all of our meetings. So the song, we'll sing it once through so folks can hear it. This is one that is not in our hymnal, one that we're not typically singing, but so it goes this way. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. Let's sing it all together. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. And then we transition to us. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. When I approached the board with a sabbatical plan about a year and a half ago, I was tasked with coming up with some areas of focus. The most obvious item, top of my list, was rest, to rest. I was not looking to have a productive 5 months away. Sabbaticals for ministers are quite different for sabbaticals for academics. There was to be no book, no project to come out of this time. Rest was the priority. But I also had a couple of other things listed. And one of them was to increase my knowledge and to extend my experience with Italian folk magic. Italian folk magic, meaning folk practices passed down through ancestral lineage around herbalism, daily practices, and ways of relating to the land and to the divine. Now, I can tell you that there were a few times when I was explaining this to people and folks kind of gave me a quizzical look or said, okay, in that way that says, this sounds a little strange. Sometimes I felt a little sheepish sharing about it. Magic, after all, is not something our Unitarian and Universalist forebears really considered a part of our religion. Back towards the founding of our traditions in their day, witchcraft would have been antithetical to religious tradition. Folk magic antithetical to religious tradition, devalued and often seen by capital R religion as women's work through the ages, often seen as the opposite of what Christian religion was doing. However, Thankfully, Unitarian Universalism came along, whose theology and values put interdependence as primary, which is what I would argue folk magic and witchcraft traditions also hold as a central theological value. As Unitarian Universalism continues to discern what is core and central to us, we have been given 6 values to focus on, to decide upon adopting in this upcoming year, with love at the center. Primary amongst these 6 values is interdependence. There's a graphic that's made where it's often listed at the top. A way of relating to the earth and its beings that honors that we all depend on one another to survive and to thrive. That how we care for ourselves impacts those around us, and how we care for others impacts us and shapes us. About a year before taking this sabbatical, I had taken a class with an Italian-American self-identified witch who is currently writing a book about Italian folk magic, where we were learning about dream divination. Early Italian ancestors had dream temples where they worshipped the god Asclepius, a god of health and healing the body, and a god of dreams, where folks went to nap regularly as a devotional practice and have their bodies healed. They really believed in the healing power of sleep. In this class, we used herbs and tinctures to cultivate good sleep habits and to begin dreaming together. Every other week, we would meet to share our dreams and to discern together what they meant based on the symbols present and what those symbols represented to the person who shared the dream. We looked a little bit into Jungian archetypes. It was in this group that I learned about the powerful healing nature of resting and of dreams. I began to write down my own dreams. I began to examine them and to see them as a major part of my life. And this feels like a great deal of what I had to explore over the 5 months while I was away. I knew, of course, first and foremost, that rest is important. It is essential to our lives. It is a part of so many sacred traditions who are represented on the flags around this room. The Sabbath in Christian practice, Shabbat for Jewish people, Ramadan, a month of fasting and focusing on deeper devotional practice for Muslims, Sesshin, a period of meditation and rest and teaching out of time for Zen Buddhists, devotional time out of time, time to rest. I think we all need this in our lives. And I think we need it probably more frequently than some of us take it. Built into our weeks and our days, not just every 5 months or every summer or even when we're given time off from the work that we do. Tricia Hersey, the Nat Bishop, writes about the importance of rest and making time for dream space, which she writes about having been stolen from us. In her seminal work, Rest is Resistance. I have a copy up here if you want to see it after the service. Hersey critiques the way capitalism has stolen our ability to rest and to dream, stolen our creative practices and the value placed on our own bodies. Hersey invites us to see ways capitalism is tied to chattel slavery and ways that forced labor lives on in so much of the pace we find ourselves moving at. Not solely for Black folks, though certainly primarily for Black folks, but also for all of us. We have lost the space to rest and to dream. We have been encouraged to keep going, to be productive for profit, to have our lives monetized. She calls us to engage in an act of resistance by refusing to keep going at unsustainable paces. She calls us to lay down and rest, to nap. While writing about our dream space being stolen in the introduction to this book, she concludes with, "We must see our bodies as a miracle and a place of reverence, where existing in exhaustion is not normal or acceptable. The beauty of resting knows that we are blessed to have a body, to be chosen to be alive, to breathe, to make choices, and to proclaim that our bodies are our own. It is a deep practice in care. It is the beginning of a revolution, radical, and a resistance." End quote. When we know our bodies are a miracle, we are not resting in order to be more productive later. We are resting because we must honor the miracle that we are. We are resting to make space to dream, to heal, to be able to engage a side of our mind and being that is creative, that moves us towards freedom and liberation. Dane Cutler, Jewish poet and founder of the God Wrestlers Project, wrote an entire book of poems devoted to rest, according to the Jewish calendar and Jewish daily practice. And when writing a brief piece around Shabbos or Shabbat, the weekly Jewish practice of rest, she wrote, "And God says, what you make of this day is as important as what you make on another day. There is no creation that stands above the creation of rest. There is no creation that can claim might over this. The ability to pause, to breathe, to delight. It is worthy. You are worthy of it." If we as Unitarian Universalists value human worth, if we value humanity, we value rest. If we truly believe in our interdependence, we do not need to look further than our animal kin all around us and in our story this morning, who sleep so much more throughout their days, who know the value of rest in their bones. If we believe in interdependence, we must be good stewards of our own creation, that we can be in right relationship with all of creation. We must liberate ourselves from the idea that we are put on this earth to produce, to do, to live at an unrelenting pace that hardly gives us the space or the time to even reflect on whether or not what we are doing is bringing us happiness or is right with our soul. I have heard time and time again about how busy folks' lives become in retirement. Maybe a familiar refrain for some of you, maybe something you have heard. I have heard about how this time for resting in some of your lives suddenly becomes full of things to do, stuff to volunteer for. The pace continues. I have felt in myself this week when I learned of my grandmother's death and attempted to keep working while my heart was heavy with grief. I will be practicing what I preach and will be away the entirety of next week so I can be present for her funeral and for my family. I wonder if you see where your dream space, where your resting space has been stolen from you. I wonder if there are ways that you have pushed through or kept up a pace that was unsustainable, eventually burning yourself out. Maybe this has never happened to you, but in a church where I see so many doing so much, for which we have so much to be grateful for, it is hard to believe that a lack of rest has not been a part of your story. while I took this dream space away. While I was taking some time out of time these last 5 months, it dawned on me that a Unitarian Universalism that seeks to be theologically relevant in this time period must take interdependence seriously and must take our relationship with the earth and its seasons and cycles seriously. We heard about it from our choir this morning, even the trees. I hope that we together can find ways, rituals, paths towards growing in deeper relationship with the earth together. And one of the ways I see to do this right now is to begin to rest as the earth is resting, to allow ourselves to be tired when the sun goes down at 4:30 p.m., to make space for rest, and to sync our natural rhythms with the rhythms and the time that the earth is keeping. The earth is telling us something. Are we listening? Are we paying attention? May you find space to dream and to rest. May you recover the resting and the dream space that an unrelenting pace seeks to steal from you. May you be liberated from the exhaustion by what the earth is telling all of us. It is time to lay down and to rest. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. One of the ways that resting has been embraced and I think engaged in some of our Christian communities is around Taizé-style worship and Taizé chanting. Has anybody ever been to a Taizé-style service? A few folks? Usually what happens in a Taizé-style service is you have dim lights. There's oftentimes a live band up front, and folks are getting together and just chanting, and chanting different songs, chants in Latin. Our Teal hymnal has two of these songs, Vieni Spiritu and Ubi Caritas. And this morning, we will take some time to just sit with the chant of Ubi Caritas. apologize. As Elizabeth comes forward to extinguish our chalice flame, I'll invite you to rise or to remain seated as you feel comfortable as we read together the words printed here on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. I'll invite you to take a hand and place it over your heart, wherever you find yourself, whether you're with us online, here in the sanctuary. Take a moment to look around and look at the faces of those here with you. Take a moment to connect with those here on this journey with you. In the week ahead, may we be good stewards of our own creations. May we be rested. May we embrace moments of quiet and solitude. And may we find there a deep love that holds us all. May you know that you are loved. And may you go and be that love to whomever you meet in the days ahead. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.